According to the results of a disturbing new poll, a majority of young voters between the age of 18 and 30 are actually unaware. Either they are unaware or they have forgotten about some of the most horrific things that Donald Trump said during his first presidential campaign and, of course, during his term in office. Only 42% of 18 to 30-year-olds, according to this new poll, recall Trump's demand for a, quote, total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the U.S. The Access Hollywood tape is actually the best-known thing among this age group. 62% say they've heard of it, and the same amount say they were bothered by it. So the Access Hollywood tape, yeah, most of them remember that. The other horrible things Trump said, not so much. And let me read you the rest of this. 72% obviously have heard Donald Trump say the election was rigged. Only 35% heard him say that Jewish people who support Democrats, quote, hate Israel and hate their religion. 35%, only 35%, say that have heard him say that he did not want to visit a cemetery of Americans who died fighting in World War I because they were, quote, losers and suckers. Only 36% heard him say that 26,000 unreported sexual assaults in the military, only 238 convictions. What do these geniuses expect when they put men and women together? Only 37, technically I hadn't heard that one either, to be honest. Only 37% heard him say in 2017 that Haitian immigrants into the United States all have AIDS, and that Nigerian tourists would never go back to their huts after seeing America. And that's just a handful of statements, folks. But here's the good part. When these voters aged 18 to 30 heard these statements, many for the first time, they hated them. They were like, oh my God, no, this is awful. Yes, I don't like this at all. But the problem is we have that generation who, I'll be honest, through no fault of their own, hasn't heard these things. Most of these statements were 8 years ago. Some were 9 years ago. So if you're 20 years old right now, you were 11 or 12 when Donald Trump said these things, okay? You're not consuming political news on the daily at that point. You're not sitting down and watching MSNBC at the end of the night. You're not going on YouTube and watching politics. You're watching people build Roblox communities. You know, so I'm not faulting these people for not knowing this. If anything, it's the fault of the political party for not making these statements hyped up enough so that people remember how horrible he is. But this also kind of confirms another recent study that came out that was not, by the way, looking at that one age group. It was looking across all age groups that found that people who do not consume any political news have much higher favorability opinions of Donald Trump because they don't hear any of the bad things he does. So for the people who are not paying attention, they look at Donald Trump and they're like, hey, he's not a bad guy. I don't know much about him. It's not like he's out there every day saying things, right? And that's the problem, though. The Democratic Party has a problem here. You've got to put these statements in your ads and get those ads out there. Put them in front of YouTube videos. Put them in the 5 o'clock local news that most people do watch, because they're not going to report on the horrific things that Trump says. But if your ad comes on in the commercial and tells people these things, suddenly they either remember or they learn it for the first time and they hate it. So it's not the fault of these voters. It's not the fault of that generation that they were too young to understand what was happening back then and weren't paying attention, because kids don't pay attention to that stuff. But now they need to know. So that is the job of the Democratic Party, to start putting this in ads so that more of Trump's horribleness doesn't get forgotten. Hey everybody, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we are closing in on a pretty major milestone here at Fair and Balanced as we approach 500,000 subscribers. But we're not there yet, and we definitely need your support. So if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel, and don't forget, like and comment on the videos and share them as widely as possible.